This is the MikeDJKelly Podcast. Recorded on the day when lots of independent local radio DJs and staff got bad news about their jobs, and the day when listeners to local radio got the message they would no longer be catered for. It's also the day a multi-agency rescue operation has taken place in the town of Bensheim in Germany after a tubby rat became stuck in a manhole cover. The Orbeck Volunteer Fire Brigade was called in, as was the Rhine-Neckar Animal Rescue Team, and together a team of about 8 rescuers was able to raise the cover and pull the rat free.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Mike Kelly.
So here we go, it's issue number 8 of the Just in Time for March Shorter Than Short Mike DJ Kelly podcast show, which includes news and stories that the others leave well alone.
On this week's podcast,
the Congleton Chronicle, Dumplings, Jeremy Kyle, parcel deliveries, The Who, and a whole lot more amazing starts here. I hope that line's not copyrighted. If you want to get in touch about anything to do with the podcast show, please use either of the following to contact us. hello@MikeDJKelly.co.uk or on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco.
new for 2019.
It's the first time this year that I've recorded this without needing the lights to be turned on. And do you know why that is? Well, according to John Mitchell, the weatherman, daylight is increasing by around 6 minutes a day. It's even light when I walk the dog at 6:45 a.m. You can see some of the weather facts on Twitter @JohnMitchellTV, without a H in John. When it's a bit moist, watch out for his precipitation monitor.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly Podcast.
Let's get going. Live at Leeds is the first live album by the English rock band The Who, one of the loudest rock bands in the world. It was recorded at Leeds University Refectory on the 14th of February 1970 and is the only live album that was released while the group was still actively recording and performing with their best known lineup of Roger Daltrey, Peter Townsend, John Entwistle and Keith Moon. Do you know what I was doing on the 14th of February 1970? Well, I was putting on a Valentine's disco in the gardens of Lupton Students' Hall of Residence behind the Arndale Centre in Headingley. At about 11 p.m, the police turned up following complaints about loud music from someone 3 miles away in Armley. To be fair, the old Bill were very friendly and did say they thought it was The Who were the offenders, but on listening more closely recognised it was not Who songs they could hear. So with car windows wound down, they followed the musical vibes until they found me, at which point I was asked to turn the volume down. This podcast is available on iTunes, Mixcloud.com, Popbean.com, and from my friend Alexa. I have been overdosing on James Martin, now he's on TV 6 days a week. I did like the look of his fluffy dumplings. One of his weekday shows was from Whitby in Yorkshire. In Whitby he went to the Magpie Cafe, which is very good and even better if you can get there when there's no queue to get in. Spookily, he sat at the same table we sat at on the one occasion we went there. Talking of TV, did you see Angus Dayton in Death in Paradise, the comedy cop show set in the Caribbean? A lot older than when I last saw him. Maybe it's time to bring him back on Have I Got News For You. If you have not watched Cold Feet from Monday the 18th of February, you should. It's got a very good Jeremy Kyle moment.
Golly gosh.
The latest stats for the number of pubs closing down was 18 a week, or if you prefer, 476 in 6 months. Yet when they closed down and they put up the sign, "Great business opportunity," how many are pulled in by the line, "A great business opportunity," when you see the sign being displayed every few months? Is the displaying of the sign not proof that it's a bad business opportunity and should be left well alone? On the subject of bars and restaurants, I went to the newly named Malt Brewhouse, formerly Bar 166, to give it a try. The Horsforth brewed ale was fine, but at £4.20 a pint, had to move on after 2. I was checking it out to see if we should eat there in future, and looking at the pizza menu, all it said was hand-stretched dough, so not sure if it was freshly made or out of the box. The other puzzling thing about the menu was the lack of prices, or so I thought, but my son explained that the numbers on the menu without pound signs were indeed the prices. Rather annoyingly, the next day, Satch's restaurant on Twitter doing exactly the same thing. No pound signs. What's happening?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly Podcast.
This episode is starting to sound like one big moan. Apologies, but there is a lot to moan about. People are always doing it on Twitter. My daughter does it to me every time I buy water in plastic bottles. My son does it when he decides I'm not looking at my wing mirrors enough. But my moan is bigger than that. It's about the environment. Now that we all buy everything via the likes of eBay, we have white vans turning up delivering stuff every hour of the day. So why not have all things that need delivering involving the post office for the last part of the delivery, so there's only one person and van making the deliveries down every street. Failing that, when you next order something online, choose the post office option for delivery method, and we will gradually reduce the number of vans.
This podcast is available on iTunes, Mixcloud.com, Popbean.com, and from my friend Alexa.
By the way, the price of a first-class stamp is to increase by 3p to 70 pence, and a second-class stamp will go up by 3p to 61p, the Royal Mail has announced. The increases will take effect from the 25th of March and will help ensure the sustainability of the Universal Post Office service, the company said. Turns out the 25th of March is a week too early for the second-class price increase and breaks an Ofcom ruling. To get around it, they are giving 60k to charity, rather than delaying the launch by a week. They don't need to do it, do they, as no prices are printed on the stamps.
New for 2019.
If you have a disability and you're finding it hard to get work, give the Even Break website a go. It's at evenbreak.co.uk. Even Break is a not-for-profit social enterprise and was formed to achieve three aims: to help inclusive employers attract more talented disabled people, to help disabled job seekers find work with employers who will value their skills, to promote the business benefits of employing disabled people. That's evenbreak.co.uk. If you want to get in touch with this top-rated, much-listened-to podcast, please contact email hello@MikeDJKelly.co.uk, Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. And don't forget, in case you miss my tweets about the new versions of the podcast being available, you can always get the Mike DJ Kelly podcast by going to iTunes and searching Mike DJ Kelly.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
So it's competition time, but no prizes. But which 1995 hit contained this line? Your house was very small, with wood chip on the wall. Your house was very small, with wood chip on the wall.
On this week's podcast,
Valentine's Day and stretchers, but first the Congleton Chronicle. Yes, the 125-year-old local newspaper that is called the Congleton Chronicle. It's full of stories, readers' letters, locals in court, professional photos, obituaries, and all for 70p. The same price as a stamp, or via the app which you can get from iTunes. A couple of the top stories from last week. It had the best kept railway station. Alsager Station was among the big winners at the 16th Cheshire Best Kept Station Awards evening held last Tuesday. Also, Stockport brewer Robinson's is in punning mood as its 2019 seasonal range kicks off with an indie music themed range of beers. A new order for February and March is Brew Monday, a 4.1% proof, a crisp dark amber ale that projects a fruity aroma with a malty and salty taste.
this is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly Podcast.
Who is our March mystery celebrity? Born Anthony Robert Macmillan in Rutherglen, Scotland, on the 30th of March 1950. He took his stage name in tribute to a jazz saxophonist. He has starred in endless amounts of TV shows and films. Some of the bigger ones are Bond movies, GoldenEye and The World Is Not Enough, and the Harry Potter movies. He also starred in an ITV show called B Road Britain, in which he travelled from London to Glasgow, stopping in towns and villages along the way. Who is he?
New for 2019.
Today's charity is the Trussell Trust, who aim to end hunger and poverty in the UK and can be found at trusselltrust.org. They support a nationwide network of food banks and provide emergency food and support to people locked in poverty, and campaign for change to end the need for food banks in the UK. In the UK, more than 14 million people are living in poverty, including 4.5 million children. They support more than 1,200 food bank centres in the UK to provide a minimum of 3 days nutritionally balanced emergency food to people who've been referred in crisis, as well as support to help resolve the crisis they face. Between April 2017 and March 2018, food banks in their network provided more than 1.3 million emergency food supplies to people in crisis, a 13% increase on the previous year. They know it takes more than food to end hunger. That's why they bring together the experiences of food banks in their network to challenge the structural economic issues that lock people in poverty and campaign to end the need for food banks in the UK. They say together we can end the need for food banks from donating food, volunteering your time, or taking on a fundraising challenge. There are lots of ways to get involved with raising awareness of poverty and helping end UK hunger. You can find out more on where the nearest food bank is at trusselltrust.org.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Don't you just hate it when everybody everywhere is talking about the same thing? Valentine's Day is a good example. Chris Evans was banging out lovey-dovey tunes and requests from 6:30am. Adverts on TV, radio, papers and social media were all lovey-dovey themed. I was fully saturated in lovey-doveyness by 9am and turned off all media sources. At 1pm, I got an email that read as follows: Love, 10% off selected tyres this Valentine's Day. Treat your car to some TLC this Valentine's Day. Get 10% off when you order 2 or more tyres online at QuickFit. There is talk that the Otley stretcher race might be returning this year. It was supposed to have been back last year, but some safety issues stopped it happening. Being a proud 3 times winner, once in a 3-man team and twice in a 5-man team, and in the days when you had to have an alcoholic drink in all the town centre pubs on the race route, I believe for health and safety reasons the rules were changed a few years ago to allow soft drinks instead of alcohol.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
What's with this balmy, hot, sunny weather? Is it true it's part of the Brexit deal, so we no longer need to go abroad to get a suntan? In case you missed my tweets about the new versions of the podcast being available, you can always get the Mike DJ Kelly Podcast by going to iTunes and searching Mike DJ Kelly. If you want to get in touch with this top-rated and much-listened-to podcast, please contact email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk and on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer or presentation work, please do get in touch. Nearly time to go. Guest a celebrity, born Anthony Robert Macmillan in Rutherglen, Scotland, on the 30th of March 1950. He is Robbie Coltrane, OBE. And that 1995 hit that contained the line, "Your house was very small," with Woodchip on the Wall, Jarvis Cocker and Pulp with Disco 2000. That's all we have time for in this March edition of the Shorter Than Short podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly, take care. And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting Mike DJ Kelly Podcast.